Welcome to another episode of the Cakeism Experience, and I'm Jifa. So, on this episode, I got to do something that was so exciting. It was a belated birthday cake for the Prince of Africa. So I got the call quite last minute, but I was able to do it. I set out on a rather ambitious plan to recreate the Prince of Africa's logo as a cake. So initially my plan was to do a 3D replica of the logo as a cake with his crest, as a cake. And as I worked through the technical challenges, I realized that I would have to make part of the logo out of acrylic just because of issues of stability and balance. And so I decided to make the middle part of the logo cake, and then the lions at the side with the name sash at the base out of acrylic. Now that presented a challenge because usually acrylic toppers or siders are cut, they are not engraved. But to have it look like the crest, I needed to have it engraved with the etchings for it to look like a lion, and then also have the name engraved at the base. And then also I had to predetermine the size so that the shield part of the crest will fit perfectly in between the lions. And so I decided to do, the client didn't give me any specifics on what they wanted, but knowing who the Prince of Africa, Freedom Jacob Caesar was, I had read up about him. And so I had a fair idea of the type and the impact I wanted the cake to have, because this is someone who has traveled all over the world and has seen the best and the finest of everything. And so I wanted to create a cake that was literally going to blow him away. And I had barely 3 days to do it. So I called my acrylics people. I explained my idea to them. And then they said okay, but the time was going to be an issue. And I said I needed it done like within 48 hours. And so I commissioned 2 separate acrylics people to do the same job, because I didn't want a situation where one person was going to let me down, or I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket and have a situation where one of them wasn't able to deliver and I'll be stuck. And so I placed orders for 2 separate crests with 2 separate vendors. And that was the saving thing, because believe it or not, both vendors were incredibly late. What I designed was more complicated than any of them thought, but eventually they delivered. And we also had so many issues, because sometimes, or actually more often than not, when I design a cake, sometimes in reality the structure will look good on paper, but when you actually fabricate it and the weight of the cake and the ganache and shrinkage and all those things come to play, like it's a new ball game. And so I decided to partially assemble the cake at the studio and do and attach the acrylic parts at the venue, because one, I didn't want a situation where when we're taking it out of the car we might break the acrylic because of how wide and how thin it was. That was very probable. And so I took the decision to assemble the cake on site. Unfortunately, when we got there wasn't a place to assemble it because it was meant to be a surprise. And so we literally got there, and then the underground car park, we drove into the underground car park and had to remove the cake there. I found a chair, and then I was racing to fix the picks behind the acrylic, which is what I would normally do, so that it has a firm grip into the cake. But for some reason, I don't know whether it was my nerves or whatever, it just was not sticking. Like the UV glue was just not sticking. And so at the last minute, because they had been waiting for me, and so I didn't want to waste unnecessary time doing something that I could find an easy alternative. So I decided then to attach the crest to the front of the cake with royal icing, which is obviously sugar and sets pretty quickly. But then it needed to have some sustained grip, which wasn't possible because we're moving the cake. But there was no time to come up with an alternative. So I used royal icing, stuck the crest on the front of the cake, and we went to surprise the Prince of Africa. And believe you me, he was surprised. He was so surprised. He said, and I quote, "Cake Muhene," which means the king of cakes. And he actually said that he had never seen or received such a beautiful cake in his life. And that for me, was amazing, because it was worth all the stress and all the moments that I held my breath, because literally we were all like, oh my God, are we going to be able to finish this cake? I was so nervous. But we got there, and when the client actually saw the cake, the client was like, oh my God, Jifa, I didn't know this is what you were doing. I was like, but you said I should blow you away. Mousy was completely gobsmacked when she saw the cake, because she said she didn't give me any limits. And so I told her that if it's the Prince of Africa, trust me, I know what I will do. And we did it, to the glory of God. It's one of those experiences for me that I have to pinch myself, and that makes me really appreciate this gift, and being able to meet people that I, under normal circumstances, wouldn't be able to meet. And that for me is an awesome thing. And so I want to share this quick journey with you, and hopefully it inspires you. I mean, Freedom Jacob Caesar is a very inspiring person. The adversity that he has overcome and the cause that he champions for young people in Africa is just so commendable. And he makes us look good out there. And I think that's an amazing thing. So I hope you enjoy this episode of the Cakeism Experience, dedicated to the Prince of Africa and the cake that we made for him, that was ordered by the Despite Group to commemorate his birthday. It was a belated birthday cake, but it was a surprise. And so enjoy this episode.
This is the life I'm going to live. Yeah. Hey, wow.
And I like the fact that you've got Freedom Jacob Caesar all around the cake, and you've got my words, Famudie and Idamusuo. Brassiere. It's all there in the cake. So this is great. Let's do it together.
So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So I hope you really enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making this cake. And don't forget to mask up and stay safe.